In this lesson, we're going to learn how to write equations in standard form. So let's review the three different forms that we know. The first form that we learned was slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept is called slope-intercept because it has a slope and it has an intercept. And this equation, the x and the y, stay the x and the y, and you put numbers in for m and b. In the last lesson, we learned about point slope form. Point slope is y minus y1 equals slope times the quantity x minus x1. So in this formula, again, x and y stay, but these values get replaced. In this lesson, we're going to learn more about standard form. We talked about standard form one time this year, real quick. So today we're going to focus more on it. Standard form is when the x and the y are both on the left side. A, B, and C are all real numbers. So this A, this B, and this C is going to be replaced with a number. Again, the x and the y is going to stay. Okay. So our first type of problem, we're going to be writing an equation from a graph. So put this in your memory banks. Our title for this next section is Write an Equation from a Graph. Okay, so there is no way to go from two ordered pairs, or you look at slope here, and putting it into standard form. Instead, you're going to have to use which we've learned in the past. You're either going to have to put the equation in slope-intercept form or point slope form, and then move things around to transform it into standard form. Because I have ordered pairs here and I can find the slope pretty easily, I'm going to start with point slope form. So point slope requires one ordered pair, and I'm going to pick one, it doesn't matter which one, and it requires to have slope. To find slope, I could use the slope formula, or I could use rise over run. So I'm going to go from this ordered pair to this ordered pair. Down, 1, 2, 3, 4. Down means negative. Over 1, 2. And then I'm going to reduce as well. I'm going to plug it right into that point slope formula. Y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1. Y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1, or 2. Okay, this is in point slope form. Our whole goal is to write an equation in standard form. Standard form is when the x and the y are both on the left side of the equation. So we have to move things around here. So this x and this y are the only thing on the left side, and this 2 is on the right side. You can't have a non-variable term on the left side. To do this, I'm going to do the distributive property first. So negative 2 times x. Negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. Again, the x and the y need to be on the left side, so I'm going to move this term over here. I'm not separating it. So I'm not dividing. I now have 2x. This is a positive y. Equals 4. Okay, standard form is when the x and the y term are on the left side and all the other terms are on the right side. So I have to move this constant over to the right. So I get 2x plus y equals 6. I just created an equation that's in standard form. So just to recap, you have to use what you've learned in the past to do this. When you start, there's no way of putting this information right into standard form. You either have to put it into slope-intercept form first or point slope. I put it into point slope using an ordered pair and the slope, and then I transformed it to be in standard form. That's what you're going to do with this one. Let me see if I can move it a little bit here. Oh my. same steps that I did above. Find an ordered pair, find the slope, put it in point slope form, and transform it into standard form. Go ahead and push pause and try that now. Okay. We are going to move on to write an equation from two ordered pairs. So the equation that they give me is -6, -2, this is an ordered pair, and -1, -2. Again, there's no way to go from this information to standard form, so I either have to use slope-intercept form or point slope. I'm going to again use point slope form. Point slope involves us having an ordered pair and the slope. This time, I can't find slope by just looking at a graph. Instead, I'm going to have to first find slope by doing the slope formula. y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. So I'm going to plug in the information. -2 minus a -2 all over a -1 minus a -6. Can't do subtraction, so keep switch opposite. -2 plus 2 is 0. Can't do subtraction. Keep switch opposite. Different sign difference. Simplify. We have a slope of 0. Okay, so I found my slope. I'm going to pick an ordered pair. I'm going to pick the ones with the easier numbers. No matter what ordered pair you pick, you'll get the right answer. And I'm going to plug it right into the formula here. Y minus a -2 equals the slope 0. X minus a -1. Okay, we have to fix a few things here. We can't have double negatives. Two negatives make positive. Okay. And I did create an equation, but it's not in standard form. Our goal is to put it in standard form. I need the x and the y are on the same side of the x. So I have to use the distributive property first. 0 times anything is 0. Same here. So technically there's nothing on this right side. Okay, the x's cancel out. There are no x's in this situation. The y has to be by itself on this side. On the left side of the standard form, all the variables have to be on the left side, and the non-variables and constants have to be on the right. So I'm going to move this over here. This says 0, 0 plus 0, 0. 0 minus 2 is a -2. Believe it or not, this equation is in standard form. Y equals a -2. Even though there are no x's, I could technically out here have 0x plus y equals a -2. It means the same thing. All right, your turn to try this. Write an equation in standard form when you have these two ordered pairs. 10, 6, and -12, -5. Okay, the next section, we're going to be writing horizontal and vertical lines in standard form. We kind of got a glimpse of this in the last slide here. So let me remind you what standard form is. Oops. Standard form is AX plus BY equals C. Think about what happens when your B value is 0. If anything times 0 is 0, so this looks like this. To get x by itself, technically over here, you have a variable that equals a number. Let's say C divided by A could be any numbers here. C divided by A is B. Okay. So what happens here is if B is 0, if your Y value We're left with just an a and x, so any number times x. Do the x by itself, you divide, and you get x equals a number. What happens when a or b, one of them is 0, you're left with one variable. Okay, remember when you graph one variable, it's going to be a horizontal and vertical line. This line is going through the x-axis, so if the x-axis is horizontal and it's going through, we have a line going through, this line is going to be vertical. Okay, let's do vice versa. Let's say your a value is 0. Anything times 0 is 0, so we're left with by. We want to get y by itself. So here you have c divided by b, any number divided by another number. Let's say a represents that. Again, when your a value is 0, you're left with one variable. When you have y equals a number, the y value is vertical. When you have y equals a number, the line goes through the y-axis, so this is going to be horizontal. Okay, let's keep that in mind. Okay, so let's say, this is what they're going to give you in your homework. Let's say they give you an ordered pair, -8, 9. Your directions will say, write an equation of the horizontal and vertical lines that pass through the given point. Now listen to my words carefully. Write equations, plural, of the horizontal and vertical lines that pass through the given point. They're looking for two equations. One horizontal equation and one vertical equation. So let's go ahead and graph this. -8, 9. Okay, -8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Ooh, that's a big graph. This is the ordered pair of -8, 9. What two equations would go through this point? Well, we have a vertical line. You know, my straight tool doesn't work with the colors, so this is new as I can get it. And we have a horizontal line that goes through this here. Okay, you need to write two equations that represent these two lines. The first equation, let's focus on the vertical line. This goes through the x-axis at -8. So my first equation is x equals a -8. That's in standard form because the variable is on the left side. The other equation goes through the y-axis, here's the y-axis, at 9. So our other equation is 9. Or you can think of this, let's go back to this x equals a -8. For all the values, for any value of y, x is always -8. The green one, the horizontal line, the y equals 9. For any x value, the y value will always be 9. That's another way to think about it. Okay, your turn to try. You could technically do this without graphing. Let's see if you can figure it out. If you can't, it's okay to graph it and think it through. Okay, we'll talk about that answer tomorrow. Try it on your own.